So it's time for the Blue 6.9 to find a new owner. Currently, the car is unregistered in Western Australia. The owner has let that lapse accidentally, and he thought, well, I might as well let someone else take over the care of this car rather than getting it registered again. So there's not going to be any guarantees as to the car itself or the accuracy of the information in this video. I'm just going to be going through and giving you my honest opinion of everything as it stands. If you're interested in this car, it will be listed on a website such as car sales or otherwise. I'm personally not dealing with the sale. It's not my car, and I'm not dealing with anyone that's interested in buying it. If you are interested, you must deal with the seller personally. I will not be answering any questions about the car at all. But nonetheless, let's get started on showing the car. So firstly, we're just going to walk around the outside of the car. I consider this paint to be fair to good in most places. It's not original. It has had a respray. It's not perfect, but it's better than a lot of the cars that are out there that haven't been touched before, unless they're garage queens. It's just an honest looking paint job that looks pretty reasonable. As with any car this old, there are going to be a few issues with the body, and I will show what I have found. So it's all looking pretty straight around here. There is an incident that happened on the rear left here. Some large object in the rear of the car actually punched out the side panel, which I will show you in more detail. That would require professional repairs. You can see that it's cracked the body filler under there. I'd probably want to get that fixed pretty soon if you want to get the car wet, because no doubt the water will weep in there and start causing rust. Still looking pretty good. There's no peeling or anything going on because, as I said, it has been resprayed, but it's not the world's best paint job, but it's okay. And it looks nice and sharp from the front as well. The hood is open at the moment, and that original front spoiler is still fitted. I believe that's peculiar to the 6.9. As you can see, the engine bay presents nicely. The air conditioner on this car has been completely rebuilt with a new compressor and new hoses as well. You can see them clearly here, and that still works perfectly. That was done a number of years ago, and it still works fine. And he did have the exhaust manifold ceramic coated. You can see that. I believe that was just for aesthetics. I don't believe it actually makes any difference. Suspension pump, because this is a hydro pneumatic car, has all four wheels hydraulically suspended. The front leveling valve is nice and dry. And you can see that other ceramic coated manifold there. The EGR setup is missing at the moment, but that will be included with the car. Basically in Australia it just needs to be there. It doesn't have to work, just for decoration. You can see the Australian compliance plate, and we can see that it does have the correct VIN for that vehicle on it. It does have a slightly interesting history, this car, which I'll get into more of that later. You can see the other rubber hoses that have been replaced on that air conditioner as well. And yes, the power antenna does work both up and down, as they should. Interior is okay. I don't believe these front seats are original to the car, but they present well nonetheless. Optionally, you'd probably want to get everything retrimmed in new leather anyway. That odometer reading is accurate to the car. Because this is an early 1976 car, there is no wood trim where you would have seen it on later versions. And yes, that is correct, it is 1976, because this car was actually imported specifically for the use of Mercedes-Benz Australia. I believe it was either a press car or a demonstrator, or maybe it was driven by the CEO, I'm not sure. It was owned by MB in Victoria. Here you can see the rear seat is looking a bit worse for wear on the top. The Australian sun will bake leather to hard cardboard like that after so many years. The rear parcel shelf is currently missing, but it does come with the car. Someone has damaged it by cutting holes in it for bigger speakers, but optionally that can just be remade anyway. This is the original rear seat. It presents okay, but as I said, if you want, maybe you could refurbish this interior with new leather. The door trims all look okay still. And it does come with the books for the car as well. And you can see that the book date starts oddly in 1981. So I don't believe it actually had plates on it until 1981, all the way from 1976. So maybe it was just a press car or a demonstrator for pre-ordering. And it does have a reasonable amount of service records in there as well. And the Becker does work as well. You can see a power socket to the left there, which the previous owner has installed for the purposes of powering his accessories on long drives, but you can remove that. It is fused at the battery and it's not a problem to remove. And this was one of two of the last new old stock right-hand drive dashes, so there's no cracks in that dash to worry about. In the rear you can see it does come complete with the tool bag, a spare tyre and the jack. Now for a few moments I'll show starting the car. Transmission works fine in forward and reverse, and there's no slipping going on either. It's quite healthy. As the car's not registered, we're not going to be going on any test drives. We're just going to get it up on the hoist and give you a look underneath the car so you can get a better idea of the kind of condition this car is in. Now you will notice that the car is sitting kind of high at the moment. That is the lifted position, or high mode, because my hoist cannot deadlift. It actually needs a bit of space to stretch out before it can actually lift. That's the only way to get my hoist to lift a 6.9. It needs to be in the high position. But anyway, that just shows that it works. So now that we're underneath the car, I can show you what the front and rear looks like. At the rear, everything is looking quite reasonable indeed. That rear leveling valve is pretty dry. That would be a rare sight these days. And these axle shafts are the late version that came standard on a 560, i.e. they are fully rebuildable, and they have been rebuilt a number of years ago now though. So there's no problems with the axle shafts to worry about. Everything is just nice and honest and clean back here. There's no fuel leaks either. No massive amounts of wetness on the struts either. Exhaust is all complete. And for those curious, that is the fuel tank ventilation valve. Not fitted in all markets. Flex disc looks like it's been changed recently. Good condition in any case. Under the front of the car, the good news continues. A number of years ago, those ball joints were replaced on the bottom of the strut and on the bottom of the control arm. They have had some usage though, but still in serviceable condition. Same on both sides. It's not uncommon to find the ball joints ripped open and leaking everywhere. No massive amounts of wetness under here to worry about. Everything's in pretty good condition. So the steering components have been replaced. That's a new steering damper and a new drag link, and I believe the tie rods are new as well. The transmission is quite good externally. There's some minor wetness going on, but it's definitely nothing to write home to mother about. No pooling of oil on the ground with this car. And the engine is pretty dry, even at the usual leak points around the dry sump hoses. Steering box is original, it hasn't been resealed. There's some very minor wetness going on there, but it's not exactly dripping. That's quite surprising personally. And the dryness continues up here as well. So the auxiliary transmission cooler pump is completely dry. There's no leakage going on there at all. So all in all, it's a pretty honest car to consider for a bit of a project. It's certainly not the worst example out there, and it has had a lot of money and time spent on it in its years with the current owner. Anyone that says that no money needs to be spent on a 6.9 is frankly a liar. It doesn't matter how good you get these cars, there's always money to spend on them. There's always something that's going to need to be done. Even if you fix something, it's going to need to be done again at some stage. Now I will show you some things that I have picked up. There's, of course, a few rust issues I just showed there. And there's another one at the rear right-hand corner, behind the rear wheel. One other thing, the sunroof only moves when the car's been parked in the sun, but I can pretty much guarantee some bell end has used the wrong grease and it just needs to be serviced with the right stuff. These accessories will also come with the car, but bear in mind the hardware to mount that triangle is missing, so you'll have to find that on your own.